Did you just throw your phone?
No, I did not throw the phone.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Beg Pardon. As always, I'm your host Anthony, joined by Carlos, and welcome to the show. So, in this water cooler episode, we are talking about the first 2020 presidential debate. Carlos, what a shit show.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Well, it was awful, but it was also interesting. Because
In what way?
in the way of, like, if you thought of it in boxing terms, you saw an extremely smart fighter versus like a street fighter who was just throwing haymakers. I mean, hell, if you want to count it boxing wise, Biden landed all of his hits, and they were calculated and they were quick, and he got in and out. It was just a two-piece, and he got out. Whereas Trump was just like, yeah, well, your mom's fat. How about your fat mom? Like, no real answers.
I think it's interesting because you see people that naturally or predominantly support one candidate or the other say the same exact thing. So I have people in my circle that support Trump, and they say the same thing about Biden. Like, he landed everything. Biden looked weak. Biden looked like he was like complaining the whole time. And President Trump is elevating himself in this, and so are his supporters, at least outwardly, elevating him in this way, saying like, I took on Biden, I had to take on Chris Wallace, I had to take on everyone, and I still came out on top. Like,
Take me on.
It's it's ironic just to see these two different camps basically saying the same thing. I mean, for me personally, I was not surprised by President Trump's behavior. Not surprised by that. What is starting to surprise me, though, is the nonchalant way that everyone's like, kind of like the Access Hollywood thing where it's like, it's locker room talk, like boys will be boys. Now people are like, well, Trump will be Trump. Like, it doesn't matter. It's fine. That's disturbing to me. And I was, to be honest, pretty disappointed in Biden too. I mean, if you would have taken out Trump and had like a normal functioning adult in that space, Biden would not have done that well. I mean, there were very few like consequential questions given to these candidates that they even had the opportunity to answer whenever they weren't like fighting with each other. And both of them skirted the answers. They refused to answer them at all. And I think that if Trump would have just tried to rattle him up like he was doing, but he had to stop. Mm-hmm. He had to stop and let Biden fumble, and he wouldn't. He just kept going and going and going and going and going. And I've heard people say what is kind of funny is like, it seemed like you have somebody who I've said multiple times in Donald Trump who victimizes himself more than anyone I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. And you have somebody who has a lot of grievances, who's really angry, and it just felt like he just unleashed it all that night. Like, it was like, just like he finally fell off the wagon, and then he just kept hammering at Biden. The problem was, and we talked about this shortly even after the debate last night, the problem is that Hillary Clinton was one of the most polarizing people in the Democratic Party, one of the most hated people in the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And Joe Biden, by and large, is revered. A lot of people like Joe Biden. He has what people keep calling like the Obama halo, like this halo around him. We're like, oh, he's okay, he's fine. Yeah. And it didn't work. It just looked real sad, and it gave Biden quite a few opportunities to pivot, to just take all this in, see how ridiculous this is, pivot, look into the lens, and then just talk to, like, see what this is?
Yeah.
There was a lot of times like that, and I think that helped him.
Yeah, I think, like you said, if Biden would have went against anyone with class or dignity, it would have been different. But also, I mean, that is a variable that he had to deal with. Like, it's hard to get your answers out concise when somebody is being nasty, being rude, and attacking your family. He attacked his son on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know many people that can stay calm, cool, and collected while your son is being attacked to the nation, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard.
Yeah, I agree. He's been asked that question, a question in regards to stacking the Supreme Court and the Green New Deal, even before this debate, and he refuses to answer them. So I don't necessarily think he would have answered them anyways. But there would be more stark criticisms of Biden had Trump not performed so poorly. But the thing is, too, like I said even weeks ago, these debates are not swaying. Everybody has already decided who they're voting for. This means nothing. This is just theater for all of us leading up to the election. These are like previews, like for a movie. That's all this is. Yeah. Everyone has already decided who the good guy is, who the bad guy is, in their own narrative vision of this movie, and that's what they're going to go with no matter what. No, I don't think it's going to change anyone's minds. If it does, I mean, like Biden, I don't think Biden picked up any support last night at all, whereas Trump maybe, because this never ceases to amaze me, the people that support him, but Trump might have lost, like, middle-aged women without a college degree. Like, maybe that demographic walked away from him last night because he was already losing support among them. And they're like, you know what? This dude, like, this is why we don't like him. We may like something, we may like to say that, like, oh, I like some of his policies or I like some of the things that he does, but I'm not, like, I can't handle how he talks.
Right.
And there's a lot of women like that. Men too, but mostly women.
There were 3 moments where I said, this is the pivotal moment of the entire thing. 3. 1 was subtle, but it was there. 2 were obvious. The subtle one that you kind of saw was at the very end. You saw 2 different tales, which, again, American people love to see a happy home, happy family, and all that. You saw Melania walk up, no mask, pantsuit, nothing, just straight-faced, came up to him and stood a good 2 feet away from him. Didn't even embrace him or anything. You saw Joe Biden's wife get up, wearing her mask, walk over, hug her husband like to say, I'm proud of you tonight, and then still holding him, wave to the people. It's 2 starkly different things that you saw. And I don't know how you don't see, like, read between the lines. If his own wife isn't happy in their marriage, I don't know how anyone can be happy with what he's going to do after. The second one was when he started attacking Hunter. Because he didn't dare attack Beau, which was smart. Because if he would have did that, all bets were off. I think Biden would have knocked him out, and he probably would have got more points if he would have just cold cocked him right in the mouth. But when he attacked Hunter and Biden looked dead into the camera, admitted his son had a problem, admitted his son overcame it, and then said how proud he was of his son. Yeah. I think that was a huge thing, because then even after Trump still tried to attack him, even after he said his son overcame it, he tried to basically be like, oh really? Oh really? And Biden didn't step in and degrade any of his kids or his son-in-law. He didn't do anything, which I thought was a huge thing. And then the third one, which is the one that everyone's talking about, is that both Biden and Chris Wallace were like, just say it. Just say it right now. That's all we have to say it right now. And instead of saying it, this man literally said, stand by. Stand down and stand by. What did the stand by mean? Because when you say stand by, that means and await further instructions usually. Mm-hmm. So what did stand by mean?
Right. The spin from the Trump campaign is that it meant stand down, stand by, like get out of the way of law enforcement, let law enforcement do their jobs, don't be involved. That's the spin on it. Right.
But that's what stand down means.
That's the spin on it, is that's what that really meant.
I'm sure they took it that way.
I don't know. Like, so these are two very different groups of people, so don't get it twisted. But I see the same. I see a comparison, not a similarity, but there's a comparison, right? Mm-hmm. So Trump, it's very hard for him to disavow white supremacy, even if he himself is against white supremacy. I'm not saying he is. But even if he is against it, it's hard for him to disavow something whenever he knows that there are white supremacists and a good majority of white supremacists in this country who support his campaign. Mm-hmm. And Trump has a really hard time of disavowing people who like him.
Yeah.
Similarly, I think it's difficult for Biden whenever he refuses to answer questions about stacking the Supreme Court, the Green New Deal, law and order. I mean, he did, I guess, like, answer the question that Trump posed to him about saying law and order, which Chris Wallace allowed. He was the worst moderator I've ever seen in my life. But aside from that, he doesn't answer those questions because the extreme left or far left of the Democratic Party is barely holding on to this man. Because they don't want him, but they definitely don't want Trump. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to. You have a conservative Democrat. I'm sure that's not what he calls himself, but that's what I call Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. You have a conservative Democrat, middle of the road Democrat, trying to get his whole party and not just to the base, because he's going to need. I mean, you have to pull out all the stops to defeat Trump. And he's worried about turning off those potential voters. Mm-hmm. And I think Trump feels the same way. It's just, I would rather have like a bunch of like eco-fanatics or eco-fanatics that I have to deal with than white supremacists and anti-Semitic people. Yeah. So, I mean, Biden has a little bit easier there than Trump does, but still, I think there's two similar dilemmas in that where they don't want to alienate people that support him. Now, say the roles were reversed. I don't think Biden would still do that. I think Biden would be just like any other normal person and denounce white supremacy or any other acts of heinous violence against marginalized groups of people in this country. I just can't see any other person allowing that other than Donald Trump. And then it makes people, then the question becomes like, do you not disavow it because it hits a little bit too close to home, or like what's happening?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to, like you said, he doesn't want to turn anyone off, which, I mean, again, you saw the interaction his wife had. He should be used to turning people off. But my favorite, too, was he was like, well, we need better park management. Where... Do you not realize what you're over? Do you not realize what your job encompasses? And then he's complaining about violence in the streets and everything. Who is in charge of this right now? And then he tried to throw it at Joe, and he's like, "What have you been doing about it, Joe?" It's not his job. That makes no sense.
There's he's trying to. It was very easy to villainize Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. She had a lot of skeletons in her closet.
She did it to herself.
Yeah. It's hard to do that to Joe Biden. It's very hard to do that. And you know that it's very hard to do that whenever the challenger has to be like, your son's a drug addict. Yeah. The chances of him, I mean, that was calculated. Trump knew he was going to say that. And I bet you people in his inner circle were like, Trump, however you've handled the debate up to that point may increase the likelihood that this will land by 3%, but there's still a 95% chance that you're going to swing at that and it's going to be a hard miss. And it was a hard miss.
Yep. He said 3% is more than I take my milk. I usually do 2%, so I'm going for it. And right. Chris Wallace pissed me off because Biden had respect and stopped talking when he cut him off. Trump didn't, and instead of penalizing him, well, because he realized, I'm not going to keep doing this if, Trump's not going to. But instead of, penalizing him or doing something, just talking over him, Chris Wallace was like, no, I'll let you finish, and then I will, Mr. President, please, all right, go ahead and get it out. You're a
Yeah, and I
moderator.
mean, it's difficult. I get it. It's difficult. I mean, I don't get it. I've never moderated a debate with the president of the United States. But, like, I get it that
We all been
would,
there.
It would be difficult. What I think is kind of disheartening is that he was getting under Biden's skin in the sense of, again, he just didn't let it breathe. Didn't let it simmer.
Yeah.
But like Biden, even if you don't, it's clear that Biden has no respect for Donald Trump. Very evident, very clear. However, there were statements made yesterday that gave the impression that he also did not have respect for the office of the President of the United States. Whether we like it or not, and especially whether Joe Biden likes it or not, Donald Trump is currently the President of the United States. I've never seen a candidate call a sitting U.S. president like a clown. You are singly the worst president in American history. Like, I think that was inappropriate, and for people like me that are not thrilled about Joe Biden at all, stuff like that turns us off. Now, is that going to make me go vote for Trump? Hell no. Similar to Trump, short of Joe Biden walking down Fifth Avenue and putting a Glock to someone's head and blowing their head off, I mean, my die's cast.
Right.
But it really just like, I don't know, you look at it, you're disappointed. That's a good word. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in Joe Biden. And again, disappointed but not surprised in Donald Trump.
Yeah. I think, for me, Biden saying that, again, even though he is a sitting president, was kind of like a you don't deserve to wear the crown type of thing. It was more of a jab at like him as a person, and how he's representing the office that Joe Biden holds in such high regard. I didn't take it as, a jab at the office. I took it as a jab at like, you are holding this office and you have no respect for it type of thing. But I can see how it can be interpreted two different ways for Biden. But again, I think that's just one of those things where Biden's moves were calculated. He knew he was going to call him a clown at some point because he thought that. He feels that in his bones. And it just came out. But it came out and he let it sit and then he let it go. He didn't call him again. He didn't bring it up again. Even when he told him to shut up, it was more of a frustrated, like, damn, dude, like, I'm just trying to talk. It wasn't like he turned to him and was like, why don't you shut your damn mouth? Like, it wasn't like that. Which, if he would have did that, hey, I would have been all for it.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. The Commission for Presidential Debates said that they were going to change the format for the third presidential debate. So the second one, as you know, is a town hall type event. Not next week, but the week after that. So, I mean, there'll be regular everyday Joes just asking questions and stuff like that. So hopefully it's a little bit different. It'd be very disturbing if they're treating people like they did Chris Wallace. So, I mean, hell, who knows, to be completely honest. But the third debate, there are going to be some changes to it. I don't know what they're going to be, or they're discussing them, so maybe there won't be. I don't know. We want to hear from you guys, too. If you guys tuned in, or if you guys were like a lot of our friends, and we're like, this is absolutely toxic. I don't need this in my life on a Tuesday night. I'm not going to watch this. But we want to hear from you guys. Let us know. We will be giving our takes on the remainder of the debates as well as the vice presidential debates, and then have some election night stuff for you guys too. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in and staying involved. Make sure that you register to vote if you have not done so already. There will also be links to literature about that in the description box below.
And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see the further videos we have, or just continue this series if you like the debate series. Keep up to date with those. And, like Anthony had said, we're going to keep doing this throughout the debates, kind of giving our takes on them, just to give you a little bit of an outside perspective about what we think. But that will do it for us on this edition of Water Cooler. As always, he's been Anthony. I've been Carl. So remember, round one's in the books, but it's still a long fight. Until next time.